Okay, just started.
Good. Okay, so first question for this hangout is how would you apply the ideas from the readings and videos to a project-based STEM unit?
Okay. Well, I was looking through the book and on page 153, I'm not sure how to pronounce the names, but it's McTig and Seif.
Uh-huh.
They have let me get to the page. They have this whole little chart here that has a kind of a framework of how to do the problem solving. And
Yeah.
one thing like I really liked and it talked about was how learning is purposeful and contextual
Mm-hmm.
and how it's learning is social. So it kind of tells teachers, to make it as a kind of a group project, like make it into groups.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh,
Yeah. Yeah, that does sound like something to incorporate in general, the importance of the group activities and interactions, just like he said.
yeah.
And then I think that same guy we're referring to, he talked about standardized testing, and it was interesting about how he was discussing how the downfall of actually everyone saying how stressing the importance of standardized testing. And he even went on to elaborate how like it's not even just multiple choice questions. He thinks it's kind of like a memory thing where students aren't really using their inference skills in order to draw conclusions. They're just memorizing the little definitions and tidbit details as opposed to, and he even says that for like brief constructive responses and like testing, he says it's important for us to not put the value, not stress this value of standardized testing. It's important for them to learn kind of, again, with that kind of what we talked about in the past about with extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. So it kind of ties into that where it's important for them to learn, not just to get an A on a test, rather for them to learn in order to gain knowledge, and that sort of thing's good to incorporate in STEM units.
Yeah, and there's one another thing I read about like simulations, and I think that would go along with not just teaching
Mm-hmm.
students about, what's on a standardized test.
Yeah,
The one they had, the simulations they had, I think it was just like math simulations.
yeah, I do
But I
remember that.
know there were other computer programs too that like what was it, it was like Atlantis Quest or Quest Atlantis
Mm-hmm.
that they had that I was really interested in it because it seemed pretty cool and kind of like students would probably really enjoy it and probably really help them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And then yeah, in regards to that also, yeah, in general with students and computers, that I think the woman in the next chapter, I think her name's like Cheryl Lemke, she was discussing how like she wants to use technology no matter what, and we need to embrace the fact that students are into technology because she said like 96% of 9 and 7-year-olds are into the whole Web 2.0, like the social media technologies and usages in school. And so she was talking about how we should jump on the bandwagon and actually take the interest of the students since they're using that stuff, and it'll put the interest, kind of take it back towards the school as well. So they're more intrigued in the lessons and the classes and whatnot.
Yeah, it was really cool actually. I can't remember what page what is there who it exactly it was, but they in the book it had it was a periodic table and they put their Facebook
Oh
profiles,
yeah,
like students put the Facebook profiles in them to
yeah,
make it more like to make it easier for them to learn the different elements.
yeah. They did like personality and characteristics of their friends, and that's how they figured they would memorize it.
Yeah, and they like made there's some where they made like Facebook pages for it. Like
Yeah,
I know one was comparing themselves to hydrogen. I
I know.
thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, that was neat. And then I found something interesting I didn't think about ever. How she was talking about different wording mechanisms, how students memorize things better and they kind of research. And she was discussing how the benefits of integrated versus like non-integrated charts. And I remember her using a pie chart on one of the photos, and she had a pie chart that was just percentages, and it had a legend with it, which was I think non-integrated. And then she had another picture with the pie chart, except all the legend, like the wordings and labels, were actually inside the pie, display, and she was discussing how it's easier for students to learn better actually with that kind of integrated methods instead of having to look back and forth, back and forth. It's right there that it's all in one picture. They can just compare it, and she said that's been proof to show that students do learn better with like integrated type charts and visualizations and any other form of learning method that's involves integration rather than having to flip through and compare things.
Yeah, that was really cool. I'm looking at that now, the pie chart.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I think, very helpful. Like for me, I'm a very visual person. So like seeing everything there versus on the side, I think is very cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's like flipping through pages too. I remember like if you like looked at something and then you had to flip a page, look through another picture, back and forth, and it was like just so rigorous and tedious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting too how, because I never really thought about it using visuals. Like there's certain things you have to use where here, like here it said there's contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. Like I never thought to, tell students, make sure to look at like each one of these specific categories. For me, I think I just kind of organized it myself. I never even thought of, that students wouldn't understand how to put it in a neat way.
Yeah, exactly. I think like all those sort of different visualizations and like organization type methods will definitely be helpful that we should incorporate into all of our types of STEM lessons. And it's funny, it's the small little details like that that add up and add up and add up to make it one big positive effect for their learning. Okay. So you want to go on the next question?
Yeah.
Okay, so next question. Which 3 applications of technology would you be most inclined to try and why?
Okay, so I picked, my 3 that I picked were the Apple iPad, Pinterest, and Google Docs.
Mm-hmm.
And the Apple iPad I've used in college before in my labs, and I think it's a really good piece of technology where you can have visuals right in front of you, and you can use it for group projects. And even that one video we saw, the working with the energy,
Yeah, the
and how they saw the like, what was it, the radiation, or
yeah, you're right, the energy flow, you were right.
Yeah. And so I really like how the iPad can be used for, and how it has applications for different classroom lessons. And then Pinterest, I use Pinterest actually, and I really like it, definitely because it helps me with lesson plans already, and what kind of websites can help students out with science and even math, because there's a lot of math and science as well. And it's just, I think it would help students as well as teachers to use it, just so they have, all their websites and all their ideas for projects or lesson plans in one place.
Yeah.
And then Google Docs I really like because you can work on projects and, papers and lab write-ups and stuff like that all together in a group, and not everyone has to meet up at the same time. They just have to, you can just write it whenever people feel free to. So that makes it a lot easier than having to meet up with, a group of 4 who had different schedules. So I really like those 3. What about you?
The first one I said was Prezi, and well, we've been using that a lot actually. We used it I think once in this class or twice. And again, that's just a great tool for just interactive presentations in general. It's like kind of a whole new step up from the original Microsoft PowerPoint, just in the way it's organized and the layout, and just in general, it has that kind of potential to like wow students with like the visual aspects and how eye-catching graphics. So it's a cool way to present instead of just using the traditional slide to slide method for students. And then I said Glogster. That's cool. What it is kind of like this innovative learning platform. It lets students like digitally create poster presentations, and they could add everything to it. They could add YouTube videos, different sound bites, online articles or photographs they deem, and they can make a whole poster out of it, which is, they call it a glog. And I think it takes it a really cool way. Instead of having them make a traditional like poster presentation with like pencils and glue and pens, they can just do this online. So in this way, they're making creative poster, but also they're using technology in order to create that. And that's pretty cool too. It's more cost effective also. Students don't have to go out and buy all these different utensils and whatnot in order to create this project or poster. And the last one I said was it was actually on their YouTube, of course. Even when I was in high school and in college, also YouTube was always used, and it's a great thing to use, especially in biology, because there's a lot of those cellular and biological concepts that students can't grasp visually with just a still picture. They need to go to see the whole fundamental aspects of how different things work out with like a clip sort of. So YouTube really helped in that sort of way, and I think it'll help in classes in general. And even the classes now that I'm student teaching in, YouTube's I've seen used, and I used it at least twice so far. So those are the three I picked. Yep.
Awesome.
Okay, so that's it. And okay,